Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Irish Abroad Show. It's myself, Paul Tierney, back from my 2-week sabbatical, and Ger Browne. Ger, how are we this week?
You're taking an early, long, extended midterm there, Paul. You got your weeks confused. Midterms this week, Paul. But anyway, it's
I
good to have you
know.
back. It's good to have Paul stepping in there for week one and Gary Spain, fresh from his usual tripping around the world from he was over Qatar, the Club World Cup. I'm all good. I've been really, really good since 9:30 last Friday night when Pat started the season in flying form with a fantastic 3-0 win against Shells. So roll on tomorrow night at Richmond Park against Sligo. Hopefully we'll take advantage of a Sligo team that has no competitive games under the belt and will make it 2 wins from 2 and then throw in Liverpool really closing the gap and putting the squeeze on Man City. It's all G at the moment, I have to say.
Yeah, most definitely. To talk about Shells, I know it's only one game, but I think they're in trouble, honestly. Okay, Pats are a very good side, very, very good side, but it didn't look great. It didn't look great. And look, hopefully they can get something this week. They're up and draw against some of the former players as well. They haven't played yet this season either themselves. So look, hopefully they can get something there and start the season off. Because obviously it's a quick turnaround again as well. They go to UCD on Monday night as well, which looks like a bit of a 6-pointer already between the two of them, to be honest. So yeah, I'm actually going to UCD and Finn Harps tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. Bit of Premier Division football down in the bowl. I tell you, after 2 years of doing the first division down there, me and you as well, it's great to be seeing Premier Division football and deserved Premier Division football as well, I might add.
Make sure you say hello from me to Ollie Horgan as well.
I definitely will. He'll probably be hiding behind.
That's the only thing I'm actually going to overly miss from reporting games this year is just not getting into Ollie Horgan, albeit I don't know. I don't think I actually got to do him last year because I think the only time I've seen Finn Harps live was in their away in Longford and they actually won 3-0, but didn't get a chance to interview him afterwards. Just even going back to Shells, as a Shells fan, obviously, like, you'd bite your hand off if someone offered you 8th place right now. But, like, well, realistically speaking, thinking, even for yourself being a Shells fan, is 8 kind of the best you can probably hope for, given that it's always a big jump coming up from the first division? And I do think this is going to be a really strong Premier Division this year. I know Bowes might fall back a little bit, but you look at the likes of Pats are going to be strong this year. Derry, obviously Shamrock Rovers. I think Sligo will have another good season. I think Dundalk will be kind of better this year. Or do you think that they can maybe try and pip their North Dublin rivals, and possibly would you put Drogheda in that contention as well? And obviously Finn Harps, who at this stage now are very experienced, battle hardened, and all the more time they survive in the Premier Division, all the more they can kind of add more quality into their team and kind of look to even kick on themselves.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I've obviously excluded UCD there, but I do genuinely think that they will finish in the 10th spot. I do think they would probably be like they were in 2019. I think they'll be better than Longford last year, but I still think they'll be a distance away from the rest of the division. And I could be proven wrong there.
Yeah. In all honesty, I think 8 would be the best thing Shells could get. I was talking to someone the other night about it, and I think it's the most realistic position. Drogheda, we don't know what they're going to be like. They have lost a couple of their key players, and new management have come in as well, so that's going to be tough for them. Harps are always thereabouts, but I think, as you said, they're constantly improving and bringing in better quality players year in, year out. You see how they perform in the Cup as well. Every year they're in at least quarterfinals, which you got to give them credit for that. UCD, I think losing Paul Doyle is a massive one. He was fantastic last year, as good as the lads up front where he was fantastic. And he's already shown how good he is for Dundalk already as well, which was a decent point for them. I know they were leading twice as well, which is, I think they were leading twice, were they? Sorry, I'm not. I was at the Cork game, so
yeah, they probably would be disappointed given that they were at home. But as you say, considering what we're expecting of Derry this season, look, time will only tell. But early doors, look, any point you can pick up on early in the season, it's all about just kind of feeding your way into the season.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I mean, a draw in the first game of the season. Yeah, I mean, for Arsenal, for Shelbourne, I'd take that most years, unless you're playing a team who's financially strapped and haven't bought anyone or something like that. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, fantastic start to the season. And you look at Cork the other day as well. That was phenomenal what went on down at that ground as well. Big crowd as well. Crowd trouble, which is not what you want to see. But all lads under the age of 16, by the looks of it, Canada Goose jackets everywhere, unfortunately.
High after finishing their junior cert mocks, that's all it was.
Yeah, exactly. God, it was ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, Cork were fantastic. Dylan McGlade was fantastic. 2 assists and 3 goals. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. And I think Cork will be strong this year. I mean,
Yeah.
if you start like that, you're going to be flying from the get-go. They've Galway this week, so that's going to be a tough one between two sides. They're going to be aiming for probably second. Whether they pip, I think Waterford are going to win it. Not unfortunately. I mean, be great for Ian Morris, but I think they'll just run away with it. They've just got too strong a squad, and they should have stayed up last year anyway. It was their own fault they went down. But look, we'll crack on into the Irish Abroad show anyway. We'll crack on with the Premier League.
Should just get a plug in here first. For anyone else who wants to hear more League of Ireland content, do obviously check out, if you haven't already, our League of Ireland show on the channel. Gary and Paul give their reaction from the opening week's action. Paul is always keen for us to plug other stuff on the channel, so I hope you like that if you're watching there.
Yeah, definitely. It was a good show this week, so definitely give it a watch. We'll start off with the Premier League anyway. I'll just rally through the three bits of information I have, and then we'll talk about it. Start off with the main man, Shane Long. He got his first Premier League goal in 2 years, and his second in all competitions this season as Southampton beat Everton 2-0. Seamus Coleman also played the 90 minutes in that for the away side. There was a clean sheet for Nathan Collins in Burnley's fantastic 3-0 win away at Brighton this week on the weekend. And Evan Ferguson fantastically made his Premier League debut at the age of 17, which was great to see, even though it was in a match they were getting fairly well beaten. Shane Duffy got the full 90 minutes as well, and he did pick up a yellow card in that too. And finally, probably the win of the weekend, Spurs 3-2 win at the Etihad. Matt Doherty came on for 7 minutes, and he actually put in a very important block towards the end of that game.
He did.
In a massive win for not just top four race, but for the title race as well. So we'll start with Shane Long anyway, Jer. Fantastic to see him scoring.
Yeah, it's mad to think his first Premier League goal in 2 years. I think someone was saying, I think he's played something like, I'm not sure how many such minutes, but over the course of 90 minutes, it accumulated to basically the equivalent of like 7 Premier League matches in that 2 year spell. I suppose you have to remember there was last season where he spent majority of the second half of the season on loan with Bournemouth. I kind of thought when he got that cup goal against Southampton a couple of weeks ago, and then the way Wes Hoolahan, who was talking afterwards, like, we're going to need our squad. We've got a busy period coming up, with games in hand, catch up. And I kind of thought from that, like, that we're going to see a little bit more of him. We haven't really. He literally was just on the pitch as well. For someone who's not the kind of tallest man, he seems to be very, very good in the air, though. Another good header there. Overall, a deserving win for Southampton, who've once again surprised me this season. Every season I kind of think this is the season where I think they're going to get sucked into a relegation battle, but they keep pulling out of the bag, keep getting great results. I wouldn't be one bit surprised if Wes Hoolahan, who is managing a different side next year, that he's going to be totted up in the summer, because to have Southampton by the time before the clocks even change again in March, or even at the end of February, to have them once again home and hose with Premier League football is really, really good to see. And hopefully now Shane can kind of like kick on, because I suppose Adam Ida being out injured, and with Shane's experience and the fact he's going to be playing at the highest calibre of the Premier League, he could be an option there for Stephen Kenny if he can keep getting the games under his belt between now and 4 weeks on Saturdays in that game against Belgium. As for, like I said, I only seen the highlights clips on. So my electricity went Sunday morning. I didn't get to watch the full match today because I was going off to an old match, and I think this ended up being one of the last matches on match today. So I only got to watch the 3-minute clip on YouTube. So I didn't really see overly much of the game, apart from the fact that Southampton much the chances. So I can't really overly comment on Seamus Coleman or everything kind of there. But in general, it kind of seems to be one step forward, another step back with them kind of straight away so far on the Frank Lampard. You can't still say with certainty they're going to stay up. They face Man City this weekend. Yes, they'll probably take confidence from what Spurs done last weekend, but beware the wounded animal is what I'd be feeling this weekend. But I'd be hoping they can do us a favour, but I wouldn't be optimistic for their chances this Saturday.
Yeah, I feel the same as you, Jared. To be honest, I think City will be chomping at the bit to go at, and especially it's the right game for them as well. A team who are going to try and play against them. Look, it usually ends one way, and we know how it is. Spurs played on the break last week, and it worked for them. I think that's the only way you can really play against City, and you've got to be constantly pressing them for 90 minutes. I think with players like Højbjerg and all that, it works really, really well for them. But I don't see a player in Everton's squad who's going to be doing stuff like that. And then, Spurs have Kane up top. When he bothers to play, he's world class. So that's it. We briefly mentioned Evan Ferguson's Premier League debut. Fantastic for him, even in a 3-0 defeat. And good to see Nathan Collins getting the full 90 minutes as well, and a clean sheet.
Yeah, it's kind of been a pretty positive kind of breakthrough season for Nathan Collins. No people were looking and saying, well, he's only played a handful of games. It was his first time playing in quite a while, but no one really expected him to jump straight into the Burnley team this year, given the solid partnership they've had between Tarkowski and me the last while. But it's great to see that for whatever reason, when one has to step aside through injury or suspension, or maybe a little bit of squad rotation, he's the first man that Sean Dyche calls upon. Like Kevin Long has kind of filled that role really well over down through the years. So it's great to see Nathan Collins at kind of such a young age has kind of come in, and he's never put a foot wrong by any accounts from what I've seen from any of the kind of player ratings as well that I read up on afterwards, and it's really, really good to see. Obviously, didn't feature kind of last night, but Burnley in general, like just tactical genius from Sean Dyche. Let's just not play football for 2 months. Let's just get every game called off for whatever reason and come back with a bang. They're still, I think, in the bottom three, but like they know this course so many times. They've been down this road before. They're in good form. And it's not like some of the results have been really impressive. Like drawn away at Arsenal, who've been pretty good lately. Drawn home against United, who albeit haven't been brilliant. Spurs, who okay haven't been brilliant, but just off the back of a season-defining win you would have thought against Man City. And into Baher Brighton, I would probably safely say at the top of my head, that's Brighton's biggest defeat of the season. They've only lost 6 games this season and away from home. They've been absolutely excellent and really good to see there. And obviously, with Evan Ferguson as well, you always kind of felt that he's been making the bench now for the go to nearly 2 months. Eventually, Graham Potter's going to throw him on in one of these matches that late on where it's probably a dead duck in terms of a contest. Unfortunately, as you said, it was when Brighton were on the receiving end. But look, it's good for him to kind of get a couple of minutes on his belt. And I think you could probably count on one hand the number of appearances he'll make throughout the rest of the season in the Premier League. But it's good. It's good exposure at a young age. The only thing is to just kind of hope as well that maybe people might just get carried away a little bit with the hype because of his age profile. But all the early signs are very promising for him anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you look at Burnley's performance on the weekend, the quality of the goals they got as well, definitely 2 of them from Weghorst and Aaron Lennon's goals. Quality. I mean, so look, Sean Dyche, we criticised him, we criticised him. Look, he knows what to do. And 4 clean sheets out of the last 6 games. And in the
It's a
2
bread and
games.
butter, like, yeah.
Yeah. And the two games they only conceded 1 goal as far as I know in both of them. So look, that says it all really.
And Sean Dyche even said, sorry, just got across there, Paul, but Sean Dyche even said it in a press conference last night. Like, the only game they've lost recently was the home game against Liverpool. And he said, like, well, I might be biased, but I still think we should have got a point from that game. And to be honest, he's not far off. Like, for large parts of that first half, they had Liverpool run ragged and they passed up some absolutely glorious chances. It was far from one of the prettiest goals as well that Liverpool scored. So, like if they're going toe-to-toe and able to carve open Liverpool, I know sometimes Liverpool can be a little bit suspect at the back. Norwich showed at the weekend, even Leeds last night, despite the fact they got routed. But there's not too many teams over the last while that can still say that they should have got a result against Liverpool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Look, fair play to them. And they go again on Saturday. I think they're away to Crystal Palace. I mean, Palace are very hit and miss, so that could be another victory for them as well. I remember during the lockdown, they won 1-0 there as well. Ben Mee scored that night too. So
the first fixture was a 3-3 cracker at Turf Moor back in November. So fingers crossed it'll be the same medicine repeated again on Saturday.
Probably will. And I mean, you look at the lads up front, Weghorst, who starts for Holland, and Cornier, who's actually a very, very fine player, really.
I know he scores screamers.
Yes, he scores screamers. And Weghorst, I mean, listen, we were talking about it last night. He's a great Bundesliga record, and he starts for his country. Yeah. So that says it all. Like, you know, he's an upgraded Chris Wood, basically. No, there's actually no news from last night's games. No one actually came on. No one was involved at all. But we do know the results. Spurs were beaten by Burnley. As I said, Burnley are flying. We've spoken about them. And Liverpool, I mean, they won their game in hand. There's only 3 points in it now, and they have to go to City.
Yeah, it's mad to say that we've won our game in hand, although City play on Saturday and we don't play this weekend. So straight away, we're going to have a game in hand straight away after playing our supposed game in hand. So you could kind of really say we've only just played to balance out this weekend. Then obviously we were down to play Arsenal this weekend, but the League Cup final means that off. That's on Paddy's Eve, the 16th of March. So one of us won't be in the most cheerful of form on St. Patrick's Day.
Probably me.
Yeah, I hope so. But sure, look, maybe it could be a draw. I don't think either team really needs a draw. Yeah, look, no. I still think the ball's in Man City's court. I still think it's a advantage City. I know you're kind of saying Liverpool now have slightly overtaken the goal difference, but that's going to change up and down between the course of the season. They have to go see Etihad and win. But the only thing is, like, it's a similar thing when Brendan Rodgers, like people forgot as well that Liverpool crumbled kind of towards the end, which they did. But you have to remember they got themselves in a situation where they had to win like 12 or 13 games in a row to go from 4 to where they were in the table. And it's a similar situation here. It's now 6 wins on the bounce. There's still, I think, 12 more games after the season. Can you realistically speak and see Liverpool winning all 18 matches, which is probably what they're going to have to do more than likely to win the league? It's a massive ask. Even just aside from winning Man City, you still feel there could be an obstacle there that could be thrown up. Also, you have to factor in as well, the deeper Liverpool go into the Champions League, the deeper they go into the FA Cup. If they beat Norwich, for instance, the Man United game the weekend for the international break, that becomes a rearranged midweek fixture. All these little things possibly could add up. But I do think maybe unlike the last time Liverpool went toe-to-toe with Man City 3 years ago, and particularly the attacking options, we've more squad depth. We've Luis Diaz has hit the ground running so far. Dave Joshua has been brilliant for the last couple of weeks and actually been out injured the last while. And over-reliable Divock Origi, I know you might say he's the least glamorous and he has certain faults, but he was part of a double substitution on Saturday that led to a tactical change that led Liverpool win the game. And even last night, he was heavily involved in Mane's second goal. Like, we're getting the shot blocked down. So you still feel there's something possibly in him as well as he showed against Wolves. So, yeah, look, I'm just delighted that Liverpool are making a right good fist of it. It's a good time to be a Liverpool fan when you consider this time last year, they couldn't do anything on the positive nature, losing to the likes of Fulham, Sheffield United. Well, they might have lost to Sheffield United, but they were losing games on a regular turn. It's a good time at the moment. But yeah, like I said, I would still slightly hold the advantage to Manchester City, purely on the basis that I don't see them dropping too many more points. Just one last point on this before I completely be accused of rumbling off. It is very unusual. Like, we've seen this before in Man City, where they have a massive lead built up by Christmas. And that's it. It's game over. They just power on and everything else like that. And it's not even just a case of this season, like, oh, it's because they've dropped points. But even look back to last year, Man United, who were their supposed close challengers, they were constantly dropping points. It's the fact that Liverpool have really, really kicked on. They've had a little bit of a blip over Christmas, but they've got back to normal state of mind. And yeah, look, people kind of thought, typical Pep Guardiola, he's just saying that for the media to say back in late December, early January, this thing isn't over. He's proven to be right, and I suppose he's probably thinking, like, look, we overturned a 7-point deficit in these boys 3 years ago. They're going to be gunning to do the same to us, even if it is that bit of a wider gap. And from a neutral point of view, like yourself, Paul, hopefully it will go down to the wire, and hopefully it'll be the red half celebration. And we better move on, because I'll probably just go start rumbling on about all title races that Liverpool were involved in.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, we'll crack on anyway. So what I'll do is I'll run through the championship, then we'll talk about the weekend, then I'll run through midweek. There's not much, and then so on and so on. So I'll start off anyway. Aaron Connolly played in Middlesbrough's 2-1 defeat at Bristol City. Joel Bagan equalised for Cardiff in their 1-1 draw with Blackpool. Mark McGuinness played 90 minutes in that also. There's a full debut for Aaron Cashin. Festi Ebusele and Jason Knight also played in that game for Derby County against Peterborough, who Joe Ward played for. Derby won that 1-0. Big win there. Peter Chioso and Callum Robinson were both on late in Luton's 2-0 win against West Brom. Most important thing to note there, Darrell O'Shea was back on the bench for West Brom, which was great to see. Alan Browne played in Preston's 3-2 defeat against Reading, which is actually really bad for Derby when we start to talk about it. Jimmy Dunn, Jeff Hendrick, Sean McLaughlin. Jimmy Dunn, Jeff Hendrick, and Sean McLaughlin played for both QPR and Hull in QPR's 1-1 draw with Hull at Loftus Road. And Michael Obafemi and Ryan Manning were part of the Swansea side, which were dismantled by Sheffield United, who were in flying form at the minute. So we'll start off with Aaron Cashin, full senior debut for him at Derby.
Yeah, it's kind of, I suppose, been bit by bit a build up for him, like similar to what I was saying about Egan Ferguson. He's been gradually building up, doing cameo appearances off the bench and got thrown in. The championship is one of those where I think if you're involved in the squad, you know at some stage you're going to be heavily used or start a game because of the massive turnover of matches. Probably even more so now because games got called over Christmas. So there's going to be constant rearrangements. You're going to constantly have your scheduled midweek matches like we had this week. Massive win for Derby. I was kind of closely keeping an eye on this one on Soccer Saturday as well. Common trend with them, they always seem to kind of get late goals. Even yesterday, even though they lost 2-1 to Millwall, even though they were 2-0 down at half time, I was kind of half thinking it wouldn't be unlike them to sneak something from this game. But that was a massive win because it was a real 6-pointer against Peterborough at the weekend. They're still very much there within touching distance, which I think is all that you can ask for given the off-the-field issues and the amount of points that they've been deducted.
Yeah, definitely. Look, fair play to them. I don't think they expected Reading to get 2 wins out of 2, which they've got now. I think 3 wins out of 3, actually, to be honest. They won again last night, which is another fantastic win for them. But it puts them 7 points behind them now, which is unfortunate. But look, they'll keep battling away. They've done brilliant to get where they are. I mean, they should be mid-table. They'd probably be
Yeah.
in and around West Brom now. The way West Brom are playing, they've lost 5 in a row. Steve Bruce has come in, absolute disaster from them. But yeah, that's it from the weekend. Anyway, sorry, just grab a bit of water.
Just there on Darragh O'Shea, just making reference him back on the bench. He actually, I think Paul touched on the show there about 2 weeks ago. He did actually make his return from injury, but it's good to suppose, as you know yourself, when you pick up injuries like that, it's good to kind of keep constantly involved in the match day squad, know that you're getting that bit and bit closer. Like, obviously, he comes off the bench one day, it doesn't just instantly mean straight away he's going to be ready to kind of come back in more. Like, when you're out injured for a while, to build up match fitness, so it's good to kind of see him working along like that. I think it's fair to say he's not going to be in Stephen Kenny's thoughts for the March squad. I think that's going to be a massive ask. But going forward as well, hopefully by the end of the season, he will have a couple of starts under his pocket, and he'll be very much back in Stephen Kenny's thoughts for the 4 Nations League matches in June.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll move on to him and for this midweek anyway. Good news for him. But I'll start off with Tuesday anyway. Sorry, some caught my throat. Jordan Shipley came on for 8 minutes in Coventry City's 2-1 win at Bristol City. Sean McLaughlin's Hull were beaten 2-0 by Barnsley at home. That's disappointing for him. Good news for Jason Malumbi. He got his first senior goal against Middlesbrough, and Darragh O'Shea played the full 90 minutes in that game as well. However, they were beaten by West Brom. They were beaten by Middlesbrough, who won 2-1. Obviously, Aaron Connolly was involved in that for them as well. So good for Aaron, not so good for West Brom, who are just, I think they're nearly in the bottom half now as well, which is
They've completely
awful.
collapsed.
Yeah, completely collapsed. I don't know what. I think it was a game against Cardiff over the New Year. They didn't get a penalty towards the end, and they got a couple of red cards at the end. It was before Steve Bruce came in, but they've absolutely imploded since then. And like, I mean, they've got to get going. I don't think they're going to come up now because there's teams in flying form ahead of them. Who else? Callum Robinson also played in that as well. This is Tuesday night stuff, and Alan Browne played in Preston's 0-0 draw with Nottingham Forest. On to Wednesday, Dan McNamara, Jason Knight, Festi Abasele, and Aaron Cashin played in Millwall's 2-1 win against Derby. Disappointing for Derby, considering Reading won as well. Joe Ward, Sammy Schmodix both played in Peterborough's defeat against Fulham, which Alexander Mitrovic now broke the championship record for goals in February, 32 goals. Now he beat Ivan Toney's original 31, which, I mean, God knows how many he'll get now. Joel Bagan and Mark McGuinness played in Cardiff's 2-1 defeat to Huddersfield. Huddersfield are beaten in 16 games now, so they're probably going to lose on the weekend now that I've said that. Jimmy Dunn scored for QPR in their 2-1 win against Blackpool at home. Jeff Hendrick also played in that as well. As we see the comments as well, Jimmy Dunn is on for. He's playing fantastic. Was on the bench at the start of the season. Now he's a mainstay in that QPR side who are flying. And John Egan played in Sheffield United's 1-0 win against Blackburn. Darrell Lenihan played also. Sheffield United are now in the playoff spot, which is madness considering how they started the season. Anyway, fair play to them on that. A couple of Irish lads involved there, but John was the only one who played last night. And last one here, Peter Kiosa was a late sub for Luton as they beat Stoke 2-1. Luton Town as well, very, very close to the playoffs. Fantastic from them as well. We'll just briefly talk about Jimmy Dunn. Great form coming into the March Internationals.
Yeah, I think he definitely has to be on the radar now of Stephen Kenny, as you said. Made the drop down from Burnley to the QPR start of the season. You kind of think, oh, that's a logical move. He'll get more game time because it wasn't really happening for Burnley. And then you kind of start to worry a little bit. You say, like, he first couple of weeks, games of the season, not for each one, but since he's came in, he's hit the ground running. He's made a positive impression. And again, he's one of those I don't really see or watch much of QPR. I obviously just keep an eye out for player ratings when it comes to the show. He's always highly thought of. It obviously helps as well that he's coming into a QPR team that is doing really, really well this season. They're probably exceeding a lot of people's expectations and being in around the playoffs. Look at the wake of one stage, we're going to push heavy for automatic promotion. Still a lot of games left in Championship. Who knows? If they get on the run, they might. But yeah, it's brilliant. It's fantastic seeing. Again, it just kind of, I suppose, builds up kind of like our centre back kind of and our defensive options. We always say that's kind of where we're strongest. And probably one of the main reasons that is because we seem to always have players playing well in those positions. The club football is adding up competition places, adding up a lot of squad depth or kind of position depth, you could say, in that kind of case. Like, but I definitely think no reason why he shouldn't definitely get a call up in March. And like you said, I think as well in international friendlies, you've unlimited amount of subs. Like, he should definitely be adding his first Ireland cap to his name. Come the summer, or to come March, just also as well, just on the playoff situation. Like, every time I look at that table, there's a new team in sixth. Once it was Middlesbrough, then it was Nottingham Forest, now it's Sheffield United, and just even then on at Brentford United on to Sheffield United. I think as well as seen during the week, David McGoldrick has been ruled out for the rest of the season. Big blow for him, and a big blow in general for Sheffield United, because he was a mainstay of the team 3 years ago. They got promoted. He's such an experienced player and offers a lot for teams. So that could be crucial, although you still look at it as well. Billy Sharp, who have been around the same kind of age profile as David McGoldrick, he's still producing the goods from as well, so he could definitely help fill that void.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate for David McGoldrick, but look, they're in flying form, and hopefully it keeps going for him. He might be able to come back to. Well, he's ruled out for the rest of the season. He might be able to come back sooner rather than later if they do put a promotion charge in. We'll move on into League One, and nowhere else to start. Wes Hoolahan scored after 95 minutes as Cambridge beat Accrington Stanley 2-0. That man doesn't age, plays 95 minutes. No bother to him, grabs a goal as well. What a man.
Yeah, he's having a fantastic season. Like, you know, at his age profile, you hear about, like, for younger lads, can be a big ask to make the step up from one grade to another. That might come a little bit too soon for him. You're kind of thinking like Wes Hoolahan, heading towards closer to the 40 category than even 35 in terms of age to make that step up. But it's been seamless as well. And I think Cambridge deserve a lot of credit because they've managed them absolutely superbly. They understand the situation that, like, just 2 games a week is not possible, and, like, getting the max out of him when they can, then when he does kind of play as well, is absolutely brilliant. I'm not kind of sure. I don't overly keep an eye on the League One tables, apart from maybe the top end of it. I'm not kind of actually sure how they're kind of doing, but considering
they're about mid-table. Sorry, Jerry, they're about mid-table.
And considering it's their first season back up, that's a really good achievement. To get to the 4th round of the FA Cup was unbelievable. I think any team that starts off in the first round to even make the 3rd round is the dream, and then to get a Premier League tie and then to beat a Premier League team, well, that's pretty much just the icing on a delicious cake for them. So it's been a very, very memorable season for all involved in Cambridge, and obviously good to see Wes Hoolahan still producing the goods, and I have absolutely no problem if he wants to make a U-turn his international career, albeit he's retired 4 years at this stage. Look, he's always welcome back.
Look, Zidane came back, so Wes can come back.
Zlatan came back too after 5 years, was it?
Who?
Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Zlatan does what he wants. Don't mind him. But do mind him in this sense. We'll move on into it. I only have 2 more bits from the weekend for League One, and then I'll run through midweek. Luke McNally and Mark Sykes helped Oxford to win 4-0 away at Charlton, and there was an assist for Troy Parrott in their 2-1 win away at the Stadium of Light against Sunderland. Sunderland, who have collapsed as well as West Brom, quite similar form, the two of them actually. Tuesday night, there was an assist for Connor Coventry. If you haven't seen it, have a look. Fantastic stuff from him. And a clean sheet for Warren O'Hara, and Troy Parrott played in MK Don's 2-0 win at the Valley against Charlton. Luke McNally set up Oxford's winner against Crewe. Mark Sykes played in that as well. Chiedozie Ogbeni was on after 58 minutes in Rotherham's 2-0 win over Morecambe. Shane McLaughlin and Anthony O'Connor played for Morecambe in that. James McLean grabbed an assist. Will Keane and Glenn Ray also played in Wigan's 3-1 win at Wycombe, who have dropped out of the playoffs themselves. And it was a goal for Kieran Sadlier and Bolton's 3-1 win against Anthony Scully's Lincoln. So that's League One wrapped up. Anyway, I might just run through League Two really quickly because there's not much. And then we can discuss Scotland a little bit maybe because there is a bit of news from there.
Yep, it's all good with me. Great. I know you're probably a little bit against time as well with training. So
yeah, sorry, that's my bad. I'm just looking at it there. There's someone picking me up. He's not here yet though, so we're all good.
But tell him to join in if he comes anyway.
Danny'd have no interest. I mind him. League Two. It was a red card for John Joe O'Toole and yellow cards for Stephen Quinn and Shane McLaughlin in Mansfield's 1-1 draw with Newport County. Only red cards in League Two this week. Well, no, 2 red cards and 1 goal in League Two this week for the Irish lads. There was a red card for Paddy O'Connor as well in Bradford's 2-0 defeat to Oldham. Mark Hughes has just been announced as the Bradford manager. That's
very strange.
Yeah, very strange. But look, he's been out of the game for a few years. So look, Bradford are a big enough side, especially for League Two as well. So look, fair play to him. And Liam Kelly grabbed the goal. Liam Kelly grabbed the goal in Rochdale's 2-1 win at Scunthorpe. Corey O'Keefe and Owen O'Connell played in that as well. So good stuff there from the lads. And we'll move on into Scotland. Start off with a man who is on our thumbnail this week, Jake Doyle-Hayes. He scored a double, won them an absolute cracker in Hibs' 2-0 win against Ross County. Alan Power grabbed an assist, and Charles Dunn got a red card, which has now been rescinded for St. Mirren in their draw with Livingston. Just a brief thing on St. Mirren. Jim Goodwin is now the manager of Aberdeen, so St. Mirren are in a bit of a transition period, considering losing probably their best player, Jamie McGrath, and their manager now as well.
Yeah, sorry, just checking up here on the Celtic game to see if there's any Irish involvement in that game tonight. Yeah, Liam Scales is starting for them, and James McCarthy's on the bench at half-time in Norway against Bowling Green, and it was a mountain to climb for Celtic before this game, and it's even got harder now because they're 1-0 down at half-time, so they're 4-1 down aggregate, so they need at least 3 goals to force extra time there. Huge disappointment, I suppose, if you consider their great upturn in the league recently, and obviously with Rangers, what they've done last week against Borussia Dortmund, but don't be surprised if they fall tonight to the German Giants. I'm expecting a response there from Borussia Dortmund. Yeah, on St. Mirren, yeah, I suppose, look, the day was always going to come with Jim Goldman that he was probably going to have to move along. Like, he wasn't going to stay at St. Mirren for the rest of his career if he wants to kind of take that next step and kind of progress. There probably is a case of an element that he probably took them as far as he could and get into a couple of cup semi-finals last year. Very close to that top 6 finish. And he's left them in a very healthy position. They had more of a slow than a fast start to the season, but they really picked up over the last while, caught a couple of cup wins, so he's left them in a healthy position. So it's not like he's walking away in even a bad state or in bad terms and everything else like that. And look, Aberdeen in their own right are a massive club. I think they're the last Scottish club actually to win the European competition. You know, they've got a good history, good pedigree. They would feel they maybe shouldn't be challenging the big two, but they should be maybe where hearts are. Like, they should be kind of that little bit kind of more competitive, getting into Europe. Like, they didn't even make the Conference League group stages this year, which would have been a big disappointment for them. So hopefully Jim can kind of take them along the next step as well. Wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe someone the likes of Colin McCarthy, you know, Charlie Dunn, some of these players move along with him to Aberdeen in the summer. Obviously, he's got Johnny Hayes there as well, who's a fan favourite as well from his first spell, obviously coming back from Celtic. So yeah, look, fingers crossed it all works out for Jim, and it's another stepping stone in the right direction in his managerial career.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move on into Jim Goodwin. His first game as well for Aberdeen on Saturday was against Motherwell. It was a 1-1 draw. Johnny Hayes played in that. So, look, a draw is not a bad start. And, look, hopefully it goes well for him, as you mentioned, a big club there. Dan Cleary helped St. Johnstone to win 2-1 against Hearts. Since he's gone there, their form
is a huge result.
Yeah, it's a huge. Their form is really, really turned. Fair play to him as well. Big part of that team, obviously. Ryan Sweeney scored at Celtic Park, but Dundee were beaten 3-2 by Celtic. Great win for Celtic, considering Rangers only drew earlier in the morning, but Dundee really pushed them, and fair play to them on that. There was a clean sheet for Dan O'Reilly, and I think he got man of the match in their 1-0 win against Greenock Morton in the Hamilton's 1-0 win against Greenock Morton in the Scottish Championship. There was an assist for Aaron Doran in Inverness Caledonian Thistle's defeat to Darragh O'Connor's Ayr. And also a clean sheet for Darragh O'Connor in the 0-0 in Queen of the South's 0-0 draw with Arbroath, and he got into the Scottish team of the week as well. So our pal Darragh from the start of the season is doing well unknown. Fair play to him on that one.
Yeah, good to see. I suppose it's a bit of a strange one because at the time of the start of the season, when you were talking to us, I suppose while it was still kind of pre-season mode, they were playing competitive games in that Scottish League Cup group stages, and he was playing regularly in that, and you kind of thought that like it was kind of going to happen from at Motherwell, but it didn't kind of so far. Like, he was struggling to make the bench a lot of time. But look, he's going out now. He's getting first team football, regular action. He'll only stand him in good neck. He's still only, 20, 21? Maybe it might be a little bit off his age, but I definitely know it's only 3 years ago that he was struggling to make the Wexford bench or struggling to start from. I think he only came in because a certain player was injured. So, yeah, look, hopefully baby steps like that can help him, that he'd be in a position where he'd be much stronger and better for this experience on loan, that he will be able to kind of more capitalise and get in with more first team action with Motherwell next season.
Yeah, I think he summed it up himself in the interview we done with him, is that there's no point in playing the underage Premier League because it's not real. You're better off playing senior football, whatever level it is, and that's where you get your experience, and fair play to him on that one. We'll briefly go through Europe and Australia. Actually, a bit more action this week in Europe as Bulgarian League was back, and a lot of action from Graham Carey anyway, that's for sure. We'll start with Josh Cullen. He played another full 90 minutes in Anderlecht's 2-0 win over Genk. really pushing towards the end of the season for European football next year, Anderlecht. Because second spot is basically up for grabs. I think that team who are top are going to win it, but second spot is up for grabs for anyone in and around it. We talked about Graham Carey and CSKA Sevilla. They won 3-2 against Slavia Sofia. He got 2 assists and a red card. So a lively game for Graham. Fair play to him. So he's already
Sounds like
suspended.
a typical derby.
Yeah, sounds like it was feisty anyway, that's for sure. And we'll just briefly mention Jay O'Shea. He played in Brisbane Roar's 2-0 defeat to Perth Glory in Australia. So that wraps up this week, Jer. I'm sorry to rush through that, but I do have to run training because someone is waiting for me outside and they're hammering my phone.
That's grand, and I have to go to the gym anyway, so that's it. It all works out. We're all happy anyway.
Exactly. Good show anyway, and we'll be back at it next week, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you haven't watched the video already, it'll be posted all around the socials this evening. So thanks very much, guys. Talk again soon.
Cheers.